Everyone can be a dreamer. In fact, most people are dreamers. But that isn't the dreamer we're talking about today. The dreamer we're talking about is someone whose life is much harder than everyone believes it to be. Here at the American Dream, we are talking about dreamers, immigrants who came to the US at a young age and know it is home. These dreamers lived a life in fear, and in today's society are threatened to be cast out at a moment's notice. What people fail to realize is who these dreamers really are. Dreamers are just like us. They lived in the United States their whole life, but they do not gain any of the privileges citizens of the United States have. That was until the early 2000s, when the first immigration policy for young kids was born. The Development, Relief, and Education for Alien Minors Act, better known as the DREAM Act, was meant to help provide a path to citizenship for undocumented immigrants. First proposed by Senator Richard J. Durbin, the bill has gone through one of the toughest stretches of getting passed in one house and rejected in the other, being up for approval and having to deal with filibustering of a disagreeing senator. It wasn't until 2012 when something finally changed for these dreamers.
Effective immediately, the Department of Homeland Security is taking steps to lift the shadow of deportation from these young people. Over the next few months, eligible individuals who do not present a risk to national security or public safety will be able to request temporary relief from deportation proceedings and apply for work authorization.
On July 12, 2012, President Barack Obama issued the executive order that came to be known as DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. This order allowed illegal immigrants from all over the world who grew up in the US to finally have a sense of citizenship. They were able to apply for work permits, open bank accounts, live freely in a society without any fear of being deported, and they gained the chance to pursue a higher education and become respected members in their community. A common misconception about DACA recipients is that they were just gifted these permits. The truth is quite the opposite. Every single of the 800,000 DACA recipients had to go through a long process to gain the permit. To be considered for DACA, the individual must have arrived to the United States before the age of 16 and are under the age of 31 as of the date of DACA's implementation. That is just the first step of many. They must be in school or possess a high school diploma. They must have lived in the United States for at least 5 years, and most importantly, they must have not committed any serious crimes or felonies. If an individual qualifies for all the aforementioned criteria, they receive 1. A social security number, 2. A 2-year work authorization permit, and 3. The ability to get a driver's license. Once the permit expires, the individual must apply again for DACA and go through the whole process. An important aspect to keep in mind with this order is that deferred action is not law, nor does it make its recipients legal. This means that it can be taken away at any time, and its recipients would be subject to deportation if it was to ever end. When DACA was first issued, the lives of children and young adults everywhere changed instantly. Finally, they were able to live the life they always wanted, a free life where they were looked like and treated like everyone else in the eyes of the government. Here at the American Dream, we went out and talked to 3 different DACA recipients and asked them how their lives changed. After speaking with these people, it was determined that the lives and names of these individuals would remain private. We asked them about how DACA changed their lives, what their lives were like before DACA, and what they do today. The interviewees ranged from a variety of different people. First was a 20-year-old male who came to the US at the age of 1, who, for the purpose of privacy, we will refer to as David. A 22-year-old female who came to the US at the age of 3, who, once again, for the purposes of privacy, we will refer to as Sandy. And lastly, a 26-year-old female who came to the US at the age of 6, who, once again, for the purposes of privacy, we will refer to as Jessica. All of the interviewees were of Hispanic descent. The first question asked was how they discovered they were illegal immigrants. I always knew I was illegal. I lived in the projects of LA, and I knew that I was different from all the other kids. My parents were very upfront about it. They said all these kids I see in school are different than me. They'll have an easier life than me. I always took it as a challenge and took every day as they went. It was always a chip on my shoulder that I used for motivation. I didn't know until I asked my parents if I could get my driver's license and if I could get a job. All of my friends in school were getting their cars and getting jobs, and I wanted it too. I confronted my parents, and they told me the truth. I wasn't born in the US, which meant that I was an illegal citizen. At first, I didn't understand what it meant, but as they explained it more, I became angrier and angrier. I couldn't believe that because I wasn't born here, I wasn't allowed to do what everyone else was doing. I found out when I started applying to colleges. On the applications, it asked for my social security number, and I asked my mom. She told me to just put 9 zeros. I thought it was weird, but I just went with it. I talked to my counselor about it, and a meeting was set up with my parents. I found out that because I wasn't a US citizen, I couldn't apply for financial aid, which meant that I couldn't really afford to go to the colleges I really wanted to go to. I was forced to go to a small private school, and while it was a great experience, I had to pay out of pocket, and that put a great financial strain on my family. The next question was the reaction to DACA and when it was first announced. I was over the moon. I couldn't believe that I was able to be just like everyone else. I don't think I'd ever cried tears of joy before that day. My entire family started crying, and I just remember hugging my dad and my mom and just being so happy. I knew there was something that Obama was planning, but I always heard it was never going to get through Congress. When I saw it on the news, I just started crying, and I was so happy because it meant that I could be like everyone else. I could do what everyone else could do. I didn't have to live a secret life. I could be me. The next question was what they thought the biggest impact DACA had on their lives. For sure, being able to college. It wasn't even something that I had planned for, but after DACA, I knew it was the next step I had to take. College, without a doubt. Getting a job and being able to help pay for my college was something I never imagined I could do. And because of DACA, I was able to do it. These DACA recipients credited the biggest impact DACA had on their life to the ability to gain a higher education. According to PRI.org, over 40% of DACA recipients are in high school or college. Before DACA, they were forced to go to junior college, or in many cases, stop going to school right after high school. Without a shadow of a doubt, DACA recipients benefited most from being able to go to college. They were able to learn more and gain experiences that would only help them in life. Something that most US citizens get to experience should be open to those who grew up their entire life in the US and for all purpose are citizens, just don't have a piece of paper saying that they are. There is one thing about DACA that we have failed to mention in this episode. DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, is over. On September 5th, 2017, the Trump administration and Jeff Sessions announced the end of DACA.
I'm here today to announce that the program known as DACA that was effectuated under the Obama administration is being rescinded.
There would be a wind-down program where in the next 6 months, DACA wouldn't be given out and applications wouldn't be accepted. Congress announced that sometime in March of 2018, there would be a solution that would help the Dreamers, as they felt they were vital members of society and would bring great contributions to the US. So far, there has been no action by Congress to help the Dreamers. When President Obama first issued DACA, he hoped it would not only help the Dreamers in the immediate future, but it would push Congress to pass the DREAM Act, an actual piece of legislation that can help the Dreamers with no fear of deportation.
Now, let's be clear. This is not amnesty. This is not immunity. This is not a path to citizenship. It's not a permanent fix. This is a temporary stopgap measure that lets us focus our resources wisely while giving a degree of relief and hope to talented, driven, patriotic young people. It is the right thing to do.
Unfortunately, in the 6 years since DACA was announced, nothing has changed. We asked our interviewees what they will do now that DACA is over, and they all had the same response. I don't know. These people's lives are hanging in the balance, and nothing is being done to help them. These people are hardworking individuals who just want to be contributing members of society. These people are just like you and me, just on the search for the American dream.